Good morning again. This is Rachel with Infused Meadows, and I'm going to make some yogurt. So this video will be probably as quickly as I can make it. Yogurt takes, well, the yogurt I make takes about 9 hours. So I'm not going to show you that full process because, you know, that would definitely be a long video. And I don't edit, so I don't want to keep the camera paused for 9 hours. So this is my final pot. This is what goes into my Instant Pot. It is literally the only thing I use an Instant Pot for. So I have about 3/4 a cup of heavy cream left after I showed you how to make the sour cream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pot and I'm going to fill this up with milk. I do not have a gallon. I don't actually know. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I can get a gallon here. But they have this, which is, what is this? 2.27 liters or 4 pints. So into this is going to go 4 pints of milk. It's cold, straight out of my refrigerator. Okay. And then to this, I'm going to add the rest of that heavy cream, or double cream as they call it in the UK. Okay. What you want to do is you want to give this a nice gentle stir. And then I'm going to put this on my stovetop and on about a medium, medium heat. I'm going to heat this up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it hits 180 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to put my lid on, turn the heat off, and I'm going to drape a towel over it to try to hold somewhat of that heat for 20 minutes. You can go 25 if you want. I've found that 20 is right for me. So I'm going to do that, and then, well, I'll go ahead and tell you. So once you hit your 180, I put my lid on. You can go 5 minutes, by the way. If you want 5 minutes instead of 20, do 5 minutes. Put your lid on. I cover it because these don't hold the heat very well. So I'll put a towel over it and let that set. Once it's set for that 20 minutes, I remove the towel and the lid. And in my sink, I'm going to run just straight cold water. And the cold that's coming out of my tap is cold. I will then set my pot down into that cold water, and I'm going to gently stir it until it comes down to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? Once we hit 115 degrees Fahrenheit, I'll show you what we do. I may try to pause, well, I will pause, but I'll try to bring you back just so you quickly see what I'm doing, but I've literally explained what I'm doing. So I may just unpause once I hit, you know, my 180, and then I turn my heat off and set my timer just so you see what I've done, which is exactly what I've told you. Okay? But we'll be back. In case you were wondering, I use this one to temperature probe. Unfortunately, 180 on here is not marked for the Fahrenheit and Celsius, so if you got one of these, just go to 180 Fahrenheit. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to be gently stirring this. You don't want to get too aggressive. Don't put a lot of air into this. I use a spatula. I don't use a whisk when I'm doing this. And the heavy cream just gives you a nice, thicker yogurt. And I think it gives it a really nice creamy taste. So what I'm also going to do now that this is going on the stove is I'm going to go grab one of the yogurts that I made last time. We'll be right back. Okay, so like I said, for any of you in the U.S., this is not a gallon of milk. So for a gallon of milk, you want 2 cups of your heavy cream. for this, okay? And you're going to do 1/4 cup, no, 2 tablespoons, I believe it is, of your yogurt. Now, I make my own every single week without fail. You want a cultured yogurt to start with. Don't get one that's flavored. You want plain cultured yogurt. When you buy it, it should say live cultures on the container. So, this is the consistency. It is nice and thick and creamy, and it has a really good flavor. So what I will do is when the time comes, I'm going to be using some of this. That will be my culture for for this batch that I'm making now. For a gallon, honestly, you could do as much as 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons. Because I usually take this big dessert spoon, which is roughly 1 tablespoon. And I will do 2 of these. So I'm doing 2 tablespoons into this. So, you know, you can go as low as the 1 tablespoon for this, and then 2 tablespoons for your gallon of milk. Because the culture it'll grow and love the environment, and that's what you want. Your cultures are what, you know, when you put them in this, they eat, they get fat, they get happy, and that's what you have. You have your live culture swimming around, eating up the milk, and they're just happy and snug as a bug in a rug, okay? And that's what you want. So if my recommendation, if you're not already, well, if you are already making your own yogurt, you don't need my video. So for those of you that are not, make sure that the yogurt you buy says, first of all, live cultures, second of all, non-flavored, and third, a good quality yogurt. You want something that you like the flavor of, because that will pretty much be the mimic every single time you make yogurt. So it's a one-time purchase, and then after that, all you're doing is buying some milk and heavy cream. And by the way, you don't have to add the heavy cream. I've found that by not adding the heavy cream, you actually don't end up with quite as thick. So if you like a thick yogurt, not quite Greek. Now, if you want a Greek, all you'd have to do is put this into a cheesecloth and hang that in your refrigerator. I usually will, if I really want that, you'll put it in a cheesecloth, and I put it in a mesh sieve, and I just set that in that with a bowl underneath. So that way it'll catch any whey that's coming off of this, and that will thicken your yogurt nice and thick. And be careful, keep an eye on it, because if you let it set too long, you now have a soft cheese rather than the yogurt, because you'll drain all the liquid out, and now you're left with a soft cheese. That's what it is. Okay, so I'm going to start stirring this oh so gently, and then I'm going to get up to temperature, and we will be back. So I've just reached 180. I'm putting my lid on. And then I'm just going to drape this towel. My heat's off. Don't worry. It is off. And I'm going to do this for... I changed my mind on the 20 minutes. I'm going to go for 15 today. Just because I do have a lot of other things to do this morning. So I'm going to do 15 minutes and then we'll be back. One other thing. I need this somewhat close to room temperature. That's why this is still setting out. That's why I got it out. So the 15 minutes that this is going to take, this will get us close, it'll get closer to room temperature than it is refrigerator temperature, because I don't want to shock the cultures. So make sure that you do that as well, okay? And we'll be back. So my timer is just going off. I'm going to remove my towel. Carefully remove the lid. And then I'm going to set this down in my sink that I have water in, so that the water should hopefully come up to about right here. Obviously, don't fill it up to where the water's going into your yogurt. And then once I get this down to 115 degrees, I'll bring you back. I'm down to 115. I'm going to take some of this. Just using a soup spoon. Well, another kind of soup spoon. Put this on the paper towel. And then we're going to go in with a spoon of this yogurt that I showed you. A nice heaping tablespoon is what I'm using this time. And then I have my baby whisk. I want to whisk this, and you will see it actually start to thicken. Because we want this good and combined. Did you see the change? Notice it's not sloshing. Okay. What we're going to do now is I'm going to put my little baby whisk up into the sink. And then I'm going to put this in here. And that's just to make sure that you get it nice and smooth before putting it into the rest of it. Alright, now what I'm going to do is that pot that I showed you before, the Instapot pot, I'm going to pour this in here, and I pour from the left, so there's no, I'll just be in your way. I'll be right back. Okay, we're at my baking station. I am going to turn this on, put my yogurt in, Instant Pot. I'm going to make sure that this is on venting, and put the lid on. Hit the yogurt, and that's it, okay? 9 hours is what I've got it set for. I don't have to touch anything else. It should beep. There you go. Now it's going to count up to the 9 hours. And at the end of 9 hours, what I will do is, oh so carefully take this lid off, because condensation does still build up in here. And you'll have water all over the top of this lid. So you carefully remove it so that you don't get too much more water into your yogurt. Set this aside, and what I normally do is I pull the bowl out, I set it on my counter, and then I just drape one of my the flour sack towels that I have. I drape over it, and I let this yogurt come to room temperature or close to it. I usually give it about an hour and a half sitting on the counter. What I do then is I take my big whisk and I whisk that until it's nice and smooth, and then I put it into my containers. Now I use these. It's just, I was using glass, but my husband takes this to work with him every morning. And he adds his granola to it that I've shown you how to do. And I will be making chocolate granola probably next week, because he's about out of that last granola. So anyway, I fill these up to about right here, and that way it leaves that little bit of room for his yogurt. But that's neither here nor there. You can use glass. He doesn't like putting the glass jar down into his backpack that he carries with him that has all of his other stuff that he takes to work every day, which makes sense. And, this won't shatter. I mean, it can still crack or break, but he won't have glass all in his backpack. So I understand it. So we bought the plastic ones, and these are really good because they have a 4-way lock. And so there you go. I got these on Amazon. They're just storage containers, I think, round storage containers. Anyway, I can link that below, along with, I got this on Amazon and that thermometer on Amazon. So I can link all that in case anybody's looking for any of this. But I hope that this helps. And I hope you make your own yogurt, It's well worth it, in my opinion. But I do, as you see through my videos, I do everything that I can at home from scratch. So there's no half in, half out for me. I'm 100% in. So you'll notice that as I do things, you won't see today we're going to do this. I'm going to show you how to make this mix, and then next week I'm pulling out store-bought, because no, I'm showing you what I already do. So anyway, I hope you give this a try. It is well worth it, in my opinion. And I've walked you through what you do after this, because like I said, I'm not going to pause this video for 9 hours. The next thing I'm doing is slaw. So I thought I'll show that, and then that way if you want to make your own slaw, you can. So we'll get on to that. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave those down in that comment section, and I'll answer as best I can. All right? I hope that you try this. I hope you love it. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Oh, also, if you don't love the recipe, hey, I hope you find the one out there that's right for you. Again, have a wonderful day.